I think the reason why Donald Trump is getting more support from black people, and I would not be surprised if this would be the first election since the 1930s that black people voted more for a Republican than a Democrat. Black people may go Republican in November. Number one, I think they're finally getting disenchanted with the Democrats.
That's a fact.
I think a lot of the analyses that are being made by black political thinkers, including myself, I think black people are really starting to see that we've been had. I mean, to have voted this way for 90 years and got nothing out of it, it's time for a change of some sort. That's number one. Number two, I think a lot of black people are attracted to Donald Trump's unapologetic disposition. Yep. He's very unapologetic. He don't go off cue cards. Completely different from Barack Obama and Joe Biden. He's speaking directly to black America where Joe Biden is not. And I think that's why he's going to carry a lot of votes, especially black men.
Trump 2024.
For the final part of the debate, we asked each of the two candidates to choose a song that best describes the opposing candidate. We will now play the song President Trump picked, that he thinks best describes Vice President Kamala Harris.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound of the world?
Ohio Senator and Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance spoke out against the latest indictment against his running mate. Vance took aim at special counsel Smith and referred to the indictment as an election interference effort.
But it looks like Jack Smith doing more what he does, which is filing these absurd lawsuits in an effort to influence the election. I mean, the one thing that I did see, which I felt was just classic lipstick on a pig, is, you know, of course, the reason the Supreme Court threw out his lawsuit is because they said it implicated the president's official acts, of course, which the president has immunity in conducting those official acts.
Trump's legal team says they prepared for this new indictment, saying it still has flaws under the Supreme Court's reasoning.
Security, Kamala Harris is not interested in doing it.
Senator, do you support authorizing the use of deadly force for migrants crossing the border illegally? And in what circumstances? For instance, DeSantis supported if people are carrying drugs across the border or cutting through the border wall. What's your take on that?
Well, you're talking about authorizing deadly force for everybody? Well, of course not, right? But I mean, look, obviously, if you have a violent criminal, if you have a person who's carrying a firearm, if you have somebody who's bringing in loads of fentanyl, you have to do everything that you can to prevent them from coming into our country. Obviously, you know, we have parameters around the use of deadly force in law enforcement. I don't think that we need to change those. What we need to change is Kamala Harris's failed leadership that doesn't let these guys do their job. I mean, it's tough to overstate, and this is one of the reasons why I really wish Kamala Harris, if she'd come to the southern border and talk to these guys, is there is a real sense, not just of frustration, but of heartache. These guys are doing this job because they love this country and they want to protect it. They have a vice president who's telling them, you're not allowed to do their job. We have got to fix that. And I think, frankly, if she looked these guys in the eyes and understood how dedicated they are to doing their jobs, she might actually let them. So I'd encourage her to come here before the election.
Speak with the youth. Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound of the world? Hey.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Full house. You ain't getting no airtime. You need me to play that back for you.
Yes, sir. Run it back real quick.
All right, we're gonna run it back. Double up on for the chat as well. Hold on for a second. Bang,
Sunday morning with the Democrats' rebranding of Kamala Harris with just 100 days until Election Day. After nearly 4 years of policy failures from the Biden-Harris administration at the border, tax and spending leading to inflation, the media is now relaying the Democrat talking points that say Kamala was never in charge of the border after all. And no, she had no role in any economic policy. Well, in fact, the vice president was the deciding vote and the tiebreaker 33 times for Democrat policies, including the American Rescue Plan and the Inflation Reduction Act, which totaled $2.5 trillion and sparked the inflation, part of the $7 trillion in spending, which at least in part led to sky-high inflation, currently up 20% on her watch. Despite not receiving a single vote in the year's Democrat primaries and dropping out of the 2020 Democrat race before they actually held their first primary, Harris now has enough support from delegates to become the party's nominee, according to the Associated Press. So let's go back to policy decisions and proclamations from the vice president during her term.
I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing, and we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
I am running to declare, once and for all, that health care is a fundamental right.
We're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminals. That's correct. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
We have confused the idea that to achieve safety, you put more cops on the street. Instead of understanding to achieve safe and healthy communities, you put more resources into the public education system of those communities, into affordable housing, into home ownership.
Well, that was then. Now it's a presidential race on the line. Harris is trying to disassociate herself from the impact of the Biden-Harris policies, including inflation up 20%, real wages down almost 2%, and the U.S. national debt approaching $35 trillion. And, of course, the border crisis that she was put in charge to oversee has resulted in more than 10 million migrants illegally entering the country, with nearly 2 million people that we know of who have evaded apprehension and have completely disappeared into the country, as well as China ramping up aggression against the United States here at home and abroad. Joining me now.
Yo, just like I said to Saul when we did it the first time, my girl Maria, how she bodied this girl's entire career in 2 minutes. That's crazy. What you got for me, French?
Yeah. One thing I will say, man, I want to make sure I do my pleasantries first. So salute to all the brothers on the panel. Salute to all the brothers in the chat, man. I appreciate y'all having me here, and I appreciate the brothers in the chat listening. Okay, so about this immigration deal, right? And I was kind of taking some notes as I was listening to that about the immigration deal. One of the reasons why you saw that influx of immigrants into Chicago and some of the crime that they've kind of brought along with them is one of the things that the governor down here, Governor Greg Abbott, did down here in Texas is when they kept putting out these policies that basically enticed immigrants to cross the border. He started busting them up north. He was like, okay, if y'all want to set up the type of environment for immigrants to continue to come here, we're gonna start sending them to your cities to make sure you do something about it. So they started. I think he sent 119,000 immigrants between Washington D.C., Chicago, and New York were the three places that I think he sent them to, so they could feel the pain that we're kind of experiencing down here in the South. The other thing, I want to set up the type of environment for immigrants to continue to come here. We're gonna start sending them to your cities to make sure you do something about it. So they started. I think he sent 119,000 immigrants between Washington D.C., Chicago, and New York were the three places that I think he sent them to, so they could feel the pain that we're kind of experiencing down here in the South. The other thing, when she was talking about DACA, the reason why she wants to make those changes to DACA is because they are pretty much seeing that Black people, Black men, I would say specifically, are kind of leading the charge as far as independent thinking as it relates to our culture. And you do have some women that are beginning to follow along. So the writing is on the wall to say, how much longer are we going to have this Black American FBA ADOS voter base, since LBJs will have these ninjas voting Democrat for the next 50 years. It seems like that them days are kind of coming to an end. So they're looking for the next voter base. If they can, and even though traditionally you'll have, like your Latin immigrants are leaning a little bit more conservative, I think what they're going for is that younger generation who will get indoctrinated in the education system, get indoctrinated in the institutions of higher learning, so that they will vote Democrat and teach their children to vote Democrat by way of, like I said, by way of their indoctrination and education part. The other thing I would say about that DACA deal is what makes our counterparts so goddamn stupid is that they're pretty much signing up for their own demise, all because they want to force this Indian woman to be a Black woman. You know what I mean? So what's happening is all she has to do was do the two-step with some pearls and chucks. They fell for it. This go around, she's talking about washing greens in the tub. It's just real bottom feeder information in order to get them to the polls. And then, of course, they brought out the Boulay class, Roland Martin, and all of these other simps and panderers to try and push her on across the finish line. As it relates to fracking, one of the things we have down here in Texas is, and it's a very blue collar type of thing. You got brothers out there, you got essays out there, you got white guys out there, and these are people who are normally a little bit lower on the socioeconomic side of things, but they have an opportunity to get over 6 figures by working in those oil fields. So if you stop fracking, if you stop these guys from drilling, we have what's called oil field trash out here, and it's a play on brothers who really didn't go to college, or guys in general who didn't go to college. And they had an opportunity to go out into the oil field, work these long hours, sleep inside of these little bitty, kind of like convict trailer type deals. And all they do is work for the oil fields, and they may work 6 months, 8 months out of the year. And these guys bring in $100,000, $120,000, $150,000 a year. And they get these lifted trucks that'll come out of the oil field. They all dirty, and on the back of them it says oil field trash. It's an inside joke down here. The other thing I would get to is they talk about the affordable housing. Well, if you drop the damn interest rates, housing will be affordable. And also, if you get on top of a lot of these lobbyists that are preventing and influence and a lot of the zoning laws, that are preventing people from putting up multi-units, and not only that, preventing them from building additional structures onto their properties when they have room. If you stop interfering with that, housing can be a little bit more affordable. But I'll land my plane there.
Okay, look at you come.
My nigga. My nigga.
The chat tends to agree with you as well. They say you making great points. Hoop, I got something for you because somebody in the chat wants you to address something when it's your turn. But Tito, what you got for me on Maria Bartiromo bodying Kamala's entire political record as vice president and even as senator?
Speaking as an ex-con, I think it's something that Ms. Bartiromo forgot, and that's the numerous Brady violations that are attributed to Kamala Harris while she was just a prosecutor. Now, for those of you that might not know what a Brady violation is, that's when either a prosecutor or an investigator, whether it's a uniformed police, an investigator for the court, or a detective, has evidence that could be potentially exculpatory to you and ignores it or tries to bury, or even the officer of the court. Like if somebody wants to come in and testify on your behalf, and like the clerk ignores their request or whatever, if they trying to get up with whoever the prosecutor is or whoever your defense attorney is, or if you got a public defender and they call the clerk's office, all of that comprises a Brady violation. And she had a whole bunch of Brady violations against mostly who, black men. Another thing that Miss Bartiromo missed is that when y'all look at all of them Vice news stories about police gangs running rampant in California, or y'all see like these like cheap low budget movies on Tubi or whatever about it, that was under Kamala Harris's watch. And that's what I'm surprised a lot of people aren't talking about.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
Oh, damn.
All these big celebrity endorsements tell me one thing. Kamala Harris' campaign is in trouble. So she just got an endorsement from Bruce Springsteen earlier this week. And then she also got another endorsement from Magic Johnson. He appeared at a rally encouraging black male voters in particular to support Kamala Harris. Now, why do you think a multimillionaire like Irvin Magic Johnson would take some time out of his day to come to a rally and appeal specifically to black male voters. It's because the Democrats know that they have been losing their base over the last few years. They know that black male voters in particular have been leaving them. Several studies have been conducted that have showed black male voters under the age of 55 more likely to vote for Trump. I even saw one study that said black male voters under the age of 55, 25% of them said that they were voting for Trump. And this is only people who said they're voting for Trump. This is not people who are secret Trump voters, who are going to the poll voting for Trump, but pretending to vote for Kamala Harris so that they don't get the backlash the rest of us get. Barack Obama also announced yesterday that he is going to start a 27-day campaign to endorse Kamala Harris. Now think about that. Usually somebody like Barack Obama would come out to support a candidate 2 weeks or so before the election. The fact that he is willing to do a 27-day campaign starting now until the election lets us know that the Democratic Party is in trouble.
Kamala Harris and the ABC News moderators. Because that was a 3 against 1. They was acting like the moderators now. They acting like they're fact-checking him, yet they never tried to fact-check Kamala, and she was up there lying like a mother.
And translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him.
Yes.
Tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home, and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
We'll play that back one more time.
President Trump looked at the Taliban leader and said this: I want to leave Afghanistan, but it's going to be a conditions-based withdrawal. And translator translated. And he said, if you harm a hair on a single American, I'm going to kill you. And translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him.
Yes.
Tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home, and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
I ain't even gonna frame a preface that. Tito, what you got for me after I play that clip? What's your impression? What do you think? You can go with it. 3 minutes to land your plane.
I mean, that's just Trump showing that he's from Queens. That shouldn't have surprised him. I mean, I had to explain to one of my friends on the phone earlier. He was asking about Trump and some of the things that he do. And I explained to him why, and I was like, you might not even realize, but Luther Vandross grew up in a nicer part of New York than Trump did.
Facts.
You know Luther Vandross from Manhattan?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. He grew up in a nicer part of New York than Trump did. Yeah, that's just Trump showing that he's from Queens. You know what I'm saying? But it's also showing that he don't have that candy ass, like Ivy League way of being brought up that a lot of these politicians have, and you know the ones that went to the Woodrow Wilson School of Foreign Affairs and all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? That don't think that something like that would be proper or it'd be appropriate or diplomatic or whatever. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those guys that's in them foreign countries, a lot of these warlords and shit, you have to act like that with them. You don't really have a choice.
They only respect strength, exactly.
Yeah, like them Afghans be saying. They be saying, you Americans come here, y'all have all of the fancy watches, but we have all of the time.
It's facts. All right, I like what you did with that. So, what's your impression, sir?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, bro. People may talk cash shit about Trump, but one thing that they can respect about him is that, he'll put his nuts on the table, he'll put a gun on the table, and people can 100% respect that. Here's the thing about bullies. Bullies only prey on people who they unequivocally know that there's not going to be any equal or more strength that will be pushed up against them. Trump kind of feeds off of, that shit to where, he actually dishes the shit out, in a lot of ways. Him dishing the shit out could be a deterrence from a lot of the bullies out on the world stage and even domestically with a lot of the bullshit that goes on here too. Him getting up on stage was actually him, demonstrating, a level of strength. And, quite honestly, and consistently, he's been reportedly the person, and from what I've seen, like, he don't give a fuck. And this sort of world of chaos where, people are wavering and stuff like that, we actually do need, some level of, strength demonstrated, order demonstrated. And that's what that is. He's his style of leadership is representative of that. So that's my take on it.
Well played, sir. And last but not least, contractor, what's your visceral, how it hits you in the gut and how your mind translates it when you hear and see that clip? And you see how excited the brothers was telling that story. They was like, yeah, he said that shit resonates with real men. What say you?
Well, most people don't. Forgive me, I'm gonna use the whole 3 minutes. Most people don't know how that area of the world works, right? The way it works is if two men get into an altercation, argument, and it escalates, and someone transitions, well, that family from that point on is charged with eliminating that person. But the moment you eliminate my brother on my side, my family's charged with eliminating you. And it's just a thing where we gon' eliminate each other down to ain't nobody left. That means me, ma, grandma, grandpa, everybody got to go. Now, whoever acts fastest, that's who wins. It ain't right, but they've been around for much longer than the U.S. has. So it keeps everyone cool. By Trump putting that photo on the table and letting them know, like, yeah, everybody in the house, I'm not just willing to eliminate you, but everyone in that house, which means I will wipe you out at a genetic level. You won't be here no more. No more cousins, no more aunties, none of that. Nah. Uncles, you got to go. I'm willing to wipe you and all your people the fuck off the map like you would never hear. So, I'll pull back, but it's going to be at my pace. Another thing most people don't know is if there's a 3-mile road, right, in that area of the country, you'll have multiple warlords that rule little sections of it, right? But they all answer to one major or main dude. It's like having a bunch of mayors that all answer to a governor. Well, that governor, if things don't go right, is getting his head took off. You feel me? If he's not feeding his warlords. But at the same point in time, that governor has to also maintain order. So that means he may have to take off the heads of those mayors. When you go straight to that governor or that president or whatever you want to call it and be like, yeah, harm a hair on any one of my people's head and yours gonna roll, and I'm willing to do this. It speaks fucking volumes to fighting men. So, it wasn't just putting the nuts on the table. It was the nuts, the gun, the shit, the whole nine. Like, yeah, and what?
So Magic Johnson, you reached out to us, the black men. I'm gonna tell you something, man. We seen how you raised your kids. Matter of fact, how you raised your little boy to be a strong, black, grown, independent woman. We seen that. We seen how you cheated on every female you ever been with. We seen how you bragged about sleeping with over 5,000 females, but you want to reach out to us, the black men. I'm gonna tell you something, man. We got no respect for you, okay? Don't say nothing to us. You can't talk for us, okay? You got no voice. And that's all I'm gonna say. You cut off.
President Trump, did you win the debate tonight?
Well, the polls say 92% to 7. I think we did great.
Did you feel you won?
I felt I won by a lot.
Did she get you rattled?
No, not at all.
You seemed a bit rattled.
Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's...
What did you do? Why'd you kill the cat? Smile for me. Smile over teeth. Go like this. Did you eat that cat? Did you eat it? No, why'd you kill it? Did you guys see all this?
No, we pulled up and she was just laying there with it.
Did you see her eating it?
Eating it.
She was eating it?
Yeah, she was.
You call the Humane Society, see if they'll come pick this cat up. It's deceased.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people.
Hundreds of $1,000. Y'all need to put on a t-shirt and some Crocs, and then y'all need to come out here in these streets, and y'all need to go out here and I'm out here before the police is. Like, y'all need to do something, bro. Y'all really got to stand on business. Y'all getting paid all this money just to wear a suit and sit in a chair. I think it's crazy, bro. We got to do something, bro. It's kids out here getting hurt. Like, only reason I even went on here and said something about it is because somebody told me they walking from the school and a Haitian almost ran into them. And who is getting paid? Like, how much money is y'all really getting paid, like, to bring them over here? Like, I know it's deeper than them. I know that's where they come from, and that's what they do. That's their country. I don't know what they got going on over there, but they can't do that over here. And if y'all just getting paid from it and then y'all ain't doing nothing about it, I think that's super weird, bro. Y'all got to stand on business. Y'all got to really, like, step up. Like, it's lame, bro. Like, for real.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, so I paused the video because I want you to pay attention to these people's reaction after what this man just said. Watch this.
Thank you.
This lady here, she has her hand in her face. She's probably tired. She wants to go home. This one here is just drinking her water. They are not talking to each other. There was no, we are looking into it. Can you please leave your phone number? We have somebody looking into it. We will contact you. None of that. They do not care, bro. Now, just in case you're not aware of it, I'm gonna leave you with this report regarding what's currently happening in Haiti. Watch this.
Well, listen, Haiti has been in a very complicated situation for the past few years, mainly with both an institutional and a constitutional crisis that got aggravated with the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in July of 2021. Now, we are facing today, and at least for the last 2 weeks, a total void of governance in the country, which is making things complicated to address the whole situation, whether security, whether the humanitarian catastrophe unfolding. It's a very, very complicated situation, and it's triggering, migration movements, as you just said, as, people are losing hope and they're trying to find a way out.
People that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. Please. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? Because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it.
To declare once and for all that health care is a fundamental right. And we will deliver that right with Medicare for all.
We're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
We have confused the idea that to achieve safety, you put more cops on the street instead of understanding to achieve safe and healthy communities, you put more resources into the public education system of those communities, into affordable housing, into home ownership.
Well, that was then. Now it's a presidential race on the line. Harris is trying to disassociate herself from the impact of the Biden-Harris policies, including inflation up 20%, real wages down almost 2%, and the U.S. national debt approaching $35 trillion. And, of course, the border crisis that she was put in charge to oversee has resulted in more than 10 million migrants illegally entering the country, with nearly 2 million people that we know of who have evaded apprehension and have completely disappeared into the country, as well as China ramping up aggression against the United States here at home and abroad. Joining me now.
You know what I was thinking as, she was going over this? Because, I mean, we can obviously list all the failures over and over and over, not to mention her little vacation hiatus, which was about 3 years, 6 months, 2 weeks, 4 days, 7 hours, and counting. Since she's been in, right? As she slipped right on in and got this sort of affirmative action nomination, but without all the pretense and stuff, it's going to be a win-win for us. Even if she did win, I'll tell you why. Because drive your money up, no accountability, bouginess, lack of any sort of empathy or whatever the case may be. This will be America's opportunity to date Keisha, right? This is our opportunity, just so that by then the reputation will be so damaged, not only from an American standpoint, but from a global standpoint, because she's obviously not qualified. She obviously is there just for simply power. She must really think that this must be some reality show or, some sort of plot from Scandal, when you're really affecting real people in real lives. Whereas you have people like Donald Trump, who actually promoted the well-being of people's lives and did not necessarily get the credit for it. What policies, once again, like the U.S., Mexico, and Canada agreement. Right? Now, how did this affect many of you brothers out there? All those guys out there driving those trucks? Yeah, you listening. Make sure that you're on the road while you're driving, while listening to it, by the way. You know how you go over there and you get those jobs in, let's say, Canada, and you drop it off over there in Edmonton, Alberta? Or you got to go across that bridge in, would you say, Windsor, Canada? Or you got to go on down to Mexico and stuff like that. Guess who made it easier, right? Guess who actually promoted the sort of working conditions and even pay in Mexico to discourage immigration so they can stay over there, so it doesn't compete with American jobs here? The one Donald Trump. I'll land my plane in.
Tim Walz. We did good, man. You gotta admit, we did good. Kamala knew what the f she was doing when she got him, and I didn't know nothing about this man.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
But I got on TikTok yesterday, and he's everywhere. So I went and listened to him, and I was like, damn, he really knows his shit, and he knows what the fuck he's talking about, and he...
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
He is bold and blunt and straightforward, and we need somebody like that. What do you say? Mind your damn business when it comes to taking away people's rights to have abortions, or...
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. Let me tell you, we don't care.
Birth control, he said, mind your own goddamn business. For real. He also brought up the fact that violence has been the highest under Trump, not including the crimes he committed.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
He's throwing blows. JD Vance ain't ready. He said he's ready to debate JD Vance. He ain't ready.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
He is not ready. Tim Walz, here we go.
So let's start with the hurricane, because it's an unbelievable, unspeakable human tragedy. I'm sure Governor Walz joins me in saying our hearts go out to those innocent people, our prayers go out to them, and we want as robust and aggressive as a federal response as we can get.
Senator Vance has said that there's a climate problem in the past. Donald Trump called it a hoax, and then joked that these things would make more beachfront property to be able to invest in.
We have a historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies.
This is what happens when you don't want to solve it. You demonize it. And we saw this. And Senator Vance, and it surprises me on this, talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield.
The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border. It is a disgrace, Tim. And I actually think, I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does. Margaret, the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check. And since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
But as I read the Minnesota law that you signed into law, the statute that you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched late-term abortion. That is, I think, whether you're pro-choice or pro-abortion, that is fundamentally barbaric.
These are women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions, and the physicians who know best when they need to do this. Trying to distort the way a law is written to try and make a point, that's not it at all.
What was I wrong about, Governor? Please tell me, what was I wrong about?
That is not the way the law is written. Well, I think all the parents watching tonight, this is just your biggest nightmare. Look, I got a 17-year-old, and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. I 100% believe that Senator Vance hates it when these kids, it's abhorrent and it breaks your heart. I agree with that. But that's not far enough when we know there are things that work.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. And I'm sorry about that. And I hope that he's doing okay. So. Christ have mercy.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer. Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that.
We have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.